Hey everybody, this is the Basement Vagrants podcast coming to you with the first episode of spring. It's warm outside, but we're stuck inside watching terrible, terrible sci-fi. We'll get to that in a minute. But first, next to me with a beer in his hand is Bubs.
If only we could do this remotely from your patio.
That would be nice.
Yeah.
We just call it on location.
But then it'd be like backyard vagrants, and that kind of takes on a whole new connotation.
But then the neighbors would hear what we watch and talk about on a weekly basis, and they'd think we're even bigger losers than they probably already do.
This is true.
And of course with us as always is Schweitzer as well.
If we did this from my patio, I'd probably die from hypothermia, and that would be preferable to watching what we had to watch.
We'll get into that soon. But first, before we get into our main event, as it were, Bubs has got something to talk about from the world of wrestling. Big changes that are coming with how we view our beloved WWE content.
I fucking hate modern day media and streaming sites. Jesus Christ.
And here's Andy Rooney with this week's
peanuts on a plane.
Sound like an old man complaining about.
No, and okay. So if you don't know.
Now you know.
Now
okay,
you know.
Sorry.
Let me talk to you. So WWE has made a deal with the streaming site Peacock, which is NBC's version of CBS All Access and ABC's Go Fuck Yourself Friday and
HBO Max.
Yeah, their own streaming service.
Apple Plus, all that crap.
So NBC paid $1 billion to basically make them the exclusive provider of the WWE network. So basically they can roll it into their packaging. I don't know what Peacock costs. I don't know how much more it costs to get the network, or if it's automatically a part of it, or if there's a tiered system. I don't know, because we're in Canada and we do it a different way here.
Mm-hmm.
So, but the inevitable content problem has already started to present itself a la every modern day media streaming service that's out there. So the initial worry was, I'm not going to be able to log into my WWE network and see all the stuff that I was already going to see, or stream it flawlessly, because there's going to be technical problems, which is something you expect when you switch platforms like that.
Mm-hmm.
Personally, I think the way they have it set up right now is almost perfect. Like, you use the network.
Yep.
The interface on it is great. You can
excellent.
Find anything you want. Every episode is broken down into segments, so you can so easily skip everything.
I'll tell you, if it wasn't for that, I probably wouldn't be watching a lot of WWE, because some of the filler shit is so terrible. You gotta just skip to that's how I watched Fastlane. I started watching it live, and then I said, screw this, I'm waiting till tomorrow so I can skip the nonsense and go right to the matches. It's so great.
One of the technical problems I guess they're already having is you cannot pause while you're watching it live.
Well, that makes sense. It's live. Why?
But you can do that on the network now.
Okay.
So let's say I got a bathroom break or something comes up. I can, like a DVR, you can pause it and then resume and go back and keep going while you're doing what you're doing. Obviously, you can't fast forward when it's live, but you can rewind, go back and check. So that's one problem. Whatever, they're working it out. I'm okay with that. I don't usually do it.
That wouldn't bother me that much.
No. But the biggest problem that people are finding right now is all the content that is currently on the old WWE network is not on the new network. Now I know people are going to say, oh, it takes some time, and they got to transfer it from one to the other, do all this shit, blah, blah, blah. You'd figure they could just transfer it all on a server, flick a switch, and be ready to go, but apparently it's not. The reason why it is very slowly making its way over there, Peacock and NBC are going through every single thing on the network and censoring it for content. If they don't like a segment, bye-bye. Away it goes. The John Cena thing where he's with Vince McMahon. Go, what up, my N-word? That's gone. Roddy
That's
Piper.
a classic.
Roddy Piper and his match against Bad News Brown at WrestleMania 6, where Piper was in the half blackface. That's gone.
Jerry Lawler calling Goldust a fag.
That's probably gone. That might not even be on the network now. But
it's not just the naughty words, just the censorship in general.
Right. And this is the thing. People could argue, okay, that stuff's not appropriate in today's time. It's not appropriate in today's time. But it happened.
Yeah.
It's a thing. It's a thing that was okay to see years ago. You could put a disclaimer on anything and say, hey, the views of today are not the views of yesterday.
Yeah.
Watch it with a grain of salt. If you don't like it, skip the segment.
Yeah.
But my problem here isn't even what they're taking out. It's the fact that they're going to go over everything with a fine-tooth comb. And who knows what the high and mighty woke network of Peacock are going to deem appropriate for you to watch on the WWE network. Fuck, for all we know, 90% of the Attitude Era could be gone.
Yeah.
That's what I was going to say. Like, how are you going to show anything from the Attitude Era to, like, beaver cleavage?
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to be censoring content that WWE has already censored.
Right.
Because they censored a lot of stuff, too.
Any interaction between a man and a woman, that's probably going to be gone.
Chris Benoit.
They'll take out the mud wrestling stuff. Stephanie McMahon's taking the rock bottom. She's taking the stunner. Chyna's taking it. I guarantee that's going to be gone.
Are you sure you're not going a little bit overboard with stuff like that? Like,
am I or are they?
You. Like any interaction between men and women?
I don't know. This is what I'm saying. Is I don't know where they're going to take this.
Right. Oh, I'm with you. Any censorship at all of this content is definitely bad and makes me worried as well. But
like, obviously I'm proposing a doomsday scenario here.
Yeah.
Where they're just going to go and whitewash every single thing that they find. But where does it end?
Well, we've talked about this before, where we were talking about the possibility of the Disney buying the WWE or buying WWE, and that's what we said before. Like, if that happens, goodbye anything even slightly controversial.
Look what they've done to The Simpsons already on the
taking a whole episode out.
Taking a bunch. There's at least 2 or 3 that are gone.
Is Homer's Enemy still up?
I don't know.
I would be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if they took that one down.
And I hear they're like taking scenes with Apu out or certain scenes with Apu out and just.
No, they're probably just going to redub them with the new actor, and it's what they're doing with Carl. Well, not they are doing it, but they just replaced Hank Azaria as the voice of Carl.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, what does this do? This doesn't do anything for anybody. Nobody is going to watch The Simpsons and suddenly say, I feel like I'm seeing myself. And if you do that, you're a fucking idiot.
Exactly. Like, nobody's going to say, oh, wow, they don't have enough black voice actors. It's not like you're seeing somebody on the screen. And it's not like Carl and Lou are being portrayed in stereotypical ways. No. They're just people. They're just being treated like people. I've never once seen either of those 2 characters portrayed in a stereotype. Same with Dr. Hibbert. No. Ever.
Well, no, but that's the thing. Somebody will argue they don't properly reflect the true African American experience. I mean, we've never had a scene where Carl or Dr. Hibbert go into a bar and the bartender looks at them suspiciously. It's like, no, because that's not what The Simpsons is. It's a fucking comedy show.
Yeah, they haven't represented their oppression enough.
Yeah. Honestly, like why haven't we had a scene where Carl gets pulled over simply for doing nothing wrong? It's like.
Now, do you know if we're going to, like us in Canada, who watch the WWE through certain methods, because in Canada you're not allowed to if you don't have a cable provider, but through like VPN magic we can kind of get around that. Are we going to have to get Peacock, or can we still keep the network?
So I don't know. If they're going by the model of if you already have the WWE network, it will continue to work. Because this is what I thought I saw watching Fastlane. If you already have it, you can keep using the original servers and the original login and all that, because I'm assuming it's probably all based in the same area where it streams out to the US, it streams out to the UK and all that other with different language and stuff settings. From my understanding, only new members have to use the Peacock app, or if somebody signs up to Peacock, now they have access. If that's how they're going, then there should be no change for us. I'm just really hoping Peacock doesn't go, hey, we also want you to do this to all your international stuff too. I don't know how much authority they have. I don't know how much they bought with their $1 billion. I don't know how much pull they have. Because what if, I don't know, does NBC have outlets in other countries? Like,
probably.
Yeah, so I mean, maybe they're going to do, Peacock UK, Peacock Ireland, Switzerland, whatever.
Yeah.
That's just my worry, is that they're just going to erase stuff.
Jeez, I don't know. Vince McMahon, I don't know if this is his direct decision to pay this money to Peacock to give them the content, but is the WWE like, do they care so little about the integrity of their past that they're willing to just, for $1 billion, give it to some other company and say, here, just do whatever you want with it?
Well, it's a public traded company, so yes. Absolutely. I mean, there's probably a part of Vince that's annoyed by it, but he's also like, well, I have to answer to shareholders. And it's been a rough year because they don't have live attendance anymore, and they aren't traveling. They're not getting those on-site merch sales. So they're probably, I mean, they're trying to make up money wherever they can. So if shareholders as a whole deem, hey, $1 billion deal is worth it, they'll just do it and not care.
It's so sad because like the history of wrestling is the history of WWE. Like, it's not, I'm not saying all wrestling is WWE, but it's a massive, massive part of the history of wrestling. If you start sanitizing that history, what's going to happen?
I don't like sanitizing any history. You have to acknowledge the mistakes of the past to not make them again. And also, it shows how much and how far people have come from this. You can have it as a teaching moment. Yes, Roddy Piper had half blackface. It was wrong. We acknowledge it's wrong. It's something we don't do anymore. Even himself, he said, I would never do that again.
Right.
You use that as a teachable moment and move on from it. It's like, this is how it was. This is because if you forget those mistakes, then when real oppression and racism happen, you're going to be like, oh, that's a brand new thing. It never happened. Blah, blah, blah. Like, no, you have to let things happen the way they are.
It's kind of like what a lot of people are doing with the Uyghurs in China. They're just like, oh, well, that's not really happening, so let's not acknowledge it.
Right.
Yeah. Shoot, now I forgot.
And they're doing it to movies and TV shows. And
I've always applauded what Warner Brothers did with the Looney Tunes cartoons, because I have volumes 1 through 6 of the Looney Tunes collection, which it's not all the Looney Tunes cartoons, but it's like the majority of all Looney Tunes cartoons from like the 40s to like the 80s or whatever. Mm-hmm. And they have those old quote unquote racist cartoons they did, where like the one where Bugs Bunny is in like an African tribe and he puts like the disc in his lip and all that, and the World War II stuff with Hitler and Slap a Jap and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. If you watch those, there's a title card in front of it that says basically what you said. This represents the standards of the time. We realize we've moved on from this. We don't support it. I think they even say the words, in the interest of preserving, learning from history, we present this in its full uncut form.
Which I've
got that disclaimer in front of me right now.
Oh, read it for us.
The cartoons you are about to see are products of their time. They may depict some of the ethnic and racial prejudices that were commonplace in American society. These depictions were wrong then and are wrong today. While the following does not represent the Warner Brothers view of today's society, these cartoons are being presented as they were originally created, because to do otherwise would be the same as claiming that these prejudices never existed.
That's absolutely perfect.
Perfect.
Yes.
Absolutely perfect.
I mean, that's what the Disney network doesn't have this disclaimer, but you need an adult. You do need an adult account to access children's movies like Peter Pan and The Aristocrats and Dumbo, simply because of the racial prejudice, the stereotypes that are in them.
And then when a parent is sitting there and watching with their child, and the child asks, what do they mean by that? You can explain to them what is deemed wrong with that, why it's wrong, and why we don't do it anymore. And the child will go, oh, I understand.
There's also the fact that a lot of people, I think people make this assumption that people today, or maybe kids growing up today, will see that content and think that that's okay. But like every single other piece of society is telling you that's not okay. It's not like, some 16-year-old kid who's all into social justice is going to watch, Bugs Bunny pretending to be an African tribesman and go, oh, wow, I guess all black people really are savages. Right. They're not going to say that, but you know what they will do? If they don't watch it and get offended, they'll laugh at it.
Yeah.
You have to be able to watch this stuff and laugh at it and say, wow, that's pretty racist, or I can't believe they got away with that, and then realize, oh, it's probably a good thing we don't do that anymore.
Yes.
like I think laughing at this stuff and deriding it is needed to move on from it.
Exactly.
And you know what? If this happens, if the WWE Network completely moves to Peacock, and I have to get a Peacock account, and they're going to sanitize it, and they're going to censor it, I'll probably just cancel it.
As will I.
And I'll torrent whatever I need to watch. Like that's how it's going to go. People who really care about censorship, they're just going to drop the network and start torrenting it. Mm-hmm. And I wouldn't have a problem with that because I want to watch. If I want to watch, you know, an episode of Raw from the Attitude Era uncensored, I want to watch it. And if I can pay WWE to watch it legally, I'm perfectly fine with that. But if I can't, well, I'll go to the dark web.
One of the reasons why I wanted to bring it up today, because you and I have started watching the Monday Night Wars in order chronologically. We're watching the Raw, the Nitro, and the pay-per-views.
Yeah.
But when we get to a certain point, are they going to turn like a 2-hour Raw into like a 35-minute Raw because they had to chop all the offensive stuff out of it?
Well, it would be nice to go from a 2-hour Raw to a 35-minute Raw, but not for that reason.
Yeah. If they chop the shit out because it's garbage.
Yeah, exactly. Take the garbage out.
Can we sanitize Russo? I mean that in every context of the
Jim
word.
Cornette's been trying for years to do that.
Yeah, Jim Cornette. All right, Peacock, give me the scissors. I'll trim out all the crap. I'll sanitize the shit out of that.
Yes.
Well, you know, even though it sounds like old man ranting, I think it's an important thing to rant about. I know we've talked about censorship and how horrible it is and how against it we are on this show, but I think the more it's talked about, the better, because we can't just sit idly by and let bad stuff be erased.
Even and ironically, even in a conversation we're having about censorship, I censored myself because I choose to censor myself. Yeah. I didn't say the N-word, I said N-word. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. I choose not to say that.
Okay, J-Rock. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. But I choose not to say it because it's not only would it open up a bad can of worms, I just don't think it's a good word for people to be saying right now. So I don't say it. But that's my choice not to say it. Nobody's coming to me saying, don't say that word. I just choose not to say it.
While we were talking, I got an email from WWE Network support. It says, we wanted to remind you that WWE Network is moving to Peacock and that your current WWE Network subscription, which is expiring tomorrow, will not renew.
Oh.
I just got that email.
Yours expires?
Well, it automatically renews. It expires and then renews.
Oh.
It says it's not going to renew.
Shit.
To watch WrestleMania live on April 10 and 11, you'll need to sign up for Peacock Premium.
Ah, crap. Well, there you
April
go.
10th and 11th?
Yeah, it's a 2-day thing.
God, yeah,
oh, Jesus. Didn't they do that for the... No, they didn't do that for the second one. They did that in different locations.
So this is where I'm wondering... So they're saying it's not even going to renew then.
I don't know. But that's assuming that... See, I don't know. It's weird with us being in Canada because the region thing is weird. We technically have American accounts, but for some reason, when I'm using the VPN on my Android box and I'm set to American, so it thinks I'm in America, it won't play. But if I turn it off, it will play. So is there like a region thing? Maybe Canadian. If it recognizes it as Canadian, I don't have to get Peacock.
And this is what I don't know either.
It's weird.
Because my login will work in any version of the WWE Network. I can log in, one account is one account. So are they saying that any account that was created in the U.S. or with a U.S. address is suddenly not going to work? However, if you created it internationally, it will work? Will a VPN even matter here? Like, oh, this is so maddening.
Confusing. Just want to watch Raw.
Because if I have to get Peacock, I'm not going to bother. I'm just not going to get Peacock.
Yeah, same.
And I'm not going to get it. I don't have cable, so I'm not going to go get a cable provider to watch the WWE Network and pay $100 to watch it. So if I can't log in either with a VPN or continue doing it the way I'm doing it, I'm just done with the network.
Yeah.
I just won't pay for it.
Before you told me about the censorship, I was prepared to get Peacock if I had to, but if they're going to start censoring it, I'm not going to support that. That's why I'll never subscribe to Disney Plus. Yeah. I'll never subscribe to that thing. No. And the integrity of entertainment media is too important.
Fuck, I would go back to buying the DVDs on pay-per-view before I would subscribe to Peacock for this reason.
Same. I don't know. Maybe there'll be. Is there a backlash against this? Maybe they'll.
I don't know.
But then
I've heard there's a lot. Well, this is how I found out about it. Is there are people who have apparently signed up for Peacock and realized that all the stuff's not there, and then they dig into it and found out why. And a lot of people are canceling their network subscriptions. So maybe this will send a message to them that, hey, you're going to lose a lot of people because of this.
Maybe.
But if they've already got their money, what do they care? The only thing that would actually cost them is if Peacock and NBC goes, hey, we're losing all these people now. What's going on? It's like, well, this is on you. You guys are doing this. This is not us. We had the established people to just smoothly move it over, and you guys aren't doing it. So I don't know why they couldn't have just, through Peacock, it just links you to the current existing network.
Yeah.
And that way you wouldn't have to go through all the big transition instead of them actively moving everything to their servers.
Now, yeah, that would be perfect.
That does not make any sense to me. But this is the way they're doing it.
I would think if any fan base these days would, if there's any fan base that's not woke, it would be wrestling fans.
If there are any fan base even left. Because the ratings are in the toilet right now.
Yeah.
So a lot of people.
I was about to ask that. Like, how bad have ratings got?
Well, Raw, I believe, hovers between the 1.4 to 2.1 million mark.
That's higher than I thought it would be.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, that's higher than I thought it was.
Way lower than it used to be. SmackDown, I think, is maybe around 1.4 million, 1.5 million. I don't think they hit 2 million. NXT can go anywhere between 560,000 to 800,000. AEW, I think their peak is about 980,000, but they average around 700, 750. So the audience isn't there. The paying audience isn't there. A lot of people were either just subscribing to the network to get the pay-per-views at a reasonable price, because obviously to pay for a pay-per-view is what, $50-$60 a month for each one. Nobody's gonna fucking pay that anymore. Or B, to watch the old stuff, the nostalgic stuff. Hey, the current product is boring, but I have access to all this great stuff I remember watching 20 years ago. Mm-hmm. But if they can't access that and see it the way they want to see it, they're just gonna say, you know what? Fuck it, I'm just not even gonna bother, and they'll just move on to one of the thousands of other media outlet platforms that are out there.
Or they'll find it elsewhere.
They'll either find it, or they just become like I'm getting, and just be apathetic towards it and just go, you know what? It's not worth the hunt.
Yeah.
It's just not it.
Well, I don't know. I guess we can hope for the best and hope that they'll change their mind, but who knows? Well, let's get on to something we've been wanting to talk about for a couple weeks now, and it just so happens that someone we admire greatly just had a birthday. The big 9-0 for William Shatner. Yay!
Yeah.
So. Happy birthday to me. Happy birthday to me. Happy birthday. Gone! Happy birthday.
So it's fortuitous timing that Shat turned 90, so we can congratulate him, who, I must say, does not look 90 years old.
No.
Guy's aged fairly well. So to celebrate William Shatner's 90th birthday, we've decided to go back and talk about the crown jewel of his career, something probably, I would say, maybe the thing he's remembered the most for. In his amazing 9 years of acting, which of course, no, even more popular than that. We've watched 1994 TV movie called TekWar. Yes.
This just goes to show you that this lockdown has been on way too long, and people have been stuck at home for so long and have had to stream and watch so much crap that we've literally hit the end of the internet of content to watch. We're out. This is all that's left.
We've hit the rock bottom. We've hit the point in quarantine where we're watching TekWar.
Asylum Films looks at this and goes, Jesus Christ.
Try a little bit. So there's actually maybe interesting is the wrong word, but there is a deep history behind TekWar and how it came to be and all that, and we'll get into that throughout this review. But I think Schweitzer and I are going to maybe try to move us through the plot a little bit.
I appreciate that because I kind of spaced out through a lot of it.
Well, I will say, this was. I know Schweitzer did not have a good time watching it. Just so that you guys appreciate how much effort I put into the show, I watched it twice.
Whoa!
The first time around, I described this show as Crisco because I could not keep my eyes on it. They keep slipping off, and I kept getting distracted and doing. It's like you know how your eyes are glued to something.
Yeah.
Mine was the exact opposite. It was pushing my eyes away. Like I was constantly going for my phone, or like, oh, I should go vacuum the living room, or I was looking to do everything else. I could not concentrate on it, and by the time I finished it, I couldn't remember anything that happened. So the next day I sat down and I forced myself to watch it again, every second, and pay attention to it. And I will say I enjoyed it more the second time actually paying attention to it. But it is a bit of a slog to get.
I watched this at home on my main TV in the living room, and halfway through, half
your
the time
girlfriend
I'm
left
sitting
you.
there, I was thinking, fuck, I wish I was watching this while I was working downstairs, so I had something else to pay attention to while I'm watching it.
So the premise of TekWar, and they don't make this really clear in the show, and it's one of my big complaints about it, is that this is a future world, future Earth. I don't even think they say the year. No. It's just generic future.
22nd century, maybe 23rd.
I don't
it's
even.
The 22nd century. I checked on Wikipedia actually for that.
I don't recall them saying it in the movie. Oh, and by the way, just to be clarified, this is not the TV show. There was a TV show of TekWar. This is the TV movie, which premiered in January 1994, and was followed by two or three more TV movies, and then the TV show, the syndicated show. Well, it wasn't syndicated. The episodic show came out in December. Okay. So there's 3 TV movies leading up to the show. So we're watching our first introduction to TekWar.
Do we know what network this was airing on?
It was on USA.
USA now.
That makes sense.
Yes.
Because Mr. Shatner appeared on an episode of Monday Night Raw to promote it.
We will talk about that in the near future. I promise. So it starts off. We're just thrown into this tech world without much of this is a perfect show where they should have had like a title crawl saying like setting up the future, you know?
Yes.
Because it throws you into this scenario. The first thing we see is this guy being unfrozen from like a cryogenic sleeping pod type of thing. And
Demolition Man.
Exactly like Demolition Man. And we find out pretty quickly that he was a police detective who was dealing in tech. We don't find out what that is quite yet, but he was dealing in this illicit thing called tech, and he was convicted and sentenced to be frozen, which is, you know, the Demolition Man punishment for crime in this world. And the first thing I thought of was, what kind of a punishment is that? They freeze. Okay, say you commit a crime, and your punishment is we're going to freeze you 10 years in the future for 10 years. Well, in your mind, you just go into the freezer, and in your mind, you wake up immediately after, and it's 10 years.
You just take a long nap.
I think it's you lose out on because you know
you could lose your family.
You lose your family. Yeah. You lose your connection. I think you just lose your connection to everything because things can rapidly change in 10 to 20 years, and now all of a sudden, society and technology and everything's evolved 10 years. And you're stuck. Imagine being not so much. Maybe now. Like, imagine it being stuck in 2011. Like your mindset is 2011, and all the things that have happened and changed, and you're like, oh wow, this is so different than 2011, right? Or you do it 20, 30 years. You know, I don't know. You're right. It would be. I think it's way harder to be in a real prison dealing with everyday life and challenges. But I think their idea is, well, this is cheaper.
I guess, but there's also no attempt at rehabilitation. Because if you think about it, if he's this hardened criminal and like say he's a murderer or whatever, and he's a real scumbag, he doesn't have a family, he doesn't care about his family, he's just like a murderer.
What's 10-year nap, dude?
So you get caught, you get put in the freezer for 10 years, and you come back and okay, well, it's basically like yesterday to me.
Well,
so you just keep continuing committing crimes. And then essentially you're made immortal, because I don't think you age when you're put in there, so you can just keep committing crimes forever.
In Demolition Man, they said they were like subliminally or pumping in rehab programs and mind control stuff
sense.
Where you were basically had all this rehab stuff, conditional thinking, basically subliminally put in your head while you're in the dream sequence. Hence why Simon Phoenix was able to learn all these codes and know how to overthrow the police stuff and control a bunch of stuff because he had all this stuff implanted into his mind in Demolition Man. It seems like they just didn't even bother to explain that.
There's no attempt. There is one line by the main character in this when he's talking to a woman where he says, I dreamed about you in the last 10 years or whatever. I don't know if he's just saying that, as to try to be romantic, or if you can actually dream when you're frozen. I don't know. But the whole premise of that makes no sense to me. I think it's so silly. So we find out that this detective's name is Jake Cardigan, which is such a stupid name.
Why didn't he wear
Yes. Bob's, his name is basically like John Sweater. Right. Who may or may not have been set up for the crime of dealing tech. He's bailed out by a cyborg named Winger, who is apparently a cop. It's not communicated very clearly, but we find out near the end he's like a cyborg cop. And he's let out. He was let out early by a man named Walter Bascom, played by William Shatner, who we'll meet in a little bit. For some reason, he was sentenced to 15 years and was let out 4 years early.
Now, I gotta say, Cardigan is not a great detective because this movie starts when he's being let out of cryo, and you see the nurse talking to him. She asks, "How old is your son?" And he replies, "My son's 11. He was 11 when you went in. He's 15 years old now." And and then he asks, "How long was I in there?" It's like, I'm not the best at math. But I'd be like, "Oh my God, it's been 200 years."
And that's the thing. One of my problems with this is the storytelling aspect of the science fiction of it. There isn't. You'd think it'd be like a fish out of water thing, where the world has changed so much since he's been in cryo. He doesn't recognize anything. It's been 4 years and the world hasn't really changed at all.
No.
So we get no scenes where like technology is explained to him. Like we learn what tech is, but he knows what tech is. Yeah. He knows this world. There's no kind of fish out of water thing. It's really weird that they didn't go that. Like, I don't know. It's so strange. And I noted down there's when he leaves the cryo facility, there's this like hologram at the door, and it says, "Since you have successfully completed your sentence, we are confident you will never return to the Cryobiotic Penal Institute." That seems to suggest that there's some sort of rehabilitation involved in being frozen for 10 years.
I guess.
Like, because you completed your sentence, we were confident you'll never commit crimes again. Well, in his mind, he was just asleep for like a day. Mm-hmm. Like he woke up, he went to sleep and then woke up 4 years later. There's no even attempt at rehabilitation.
Is there like signs in prison that just say "stay out of trouble"?
I guess.
Don't come back out here.
So Winger takes him back to his house. In what is clearly just a Ford Transit van with like some chrome painted on it.
I don't understand why they do that in all these future movies. They got these large, cumbersome vehicles, and it's like, what is this?
Well, they don't even have a hover car.
There is one of my big problems with this is it is so cheap and lazy when it comes to the sets and the props. There's almost no attempt to make it look like the future.
No.
Like there's like three sets. There's like the Cryo Institute, Walter Bascom's agency, and then like the lab where they find the scientists. And each one, it's just there's like some like one futuristic piece of technology, and in one set like it's painted in weird colors, and in one set there's like a chair with tubes in it, and that's it. Like there's so little effort.
Come up with some good matte paintings for the backgrounds or something.
There was one matte painting I remember. I think it was outside the Cryonic Institute and looked fucking terrible. But they attempted one matte painting and it sucked. Schweitzer, you're better at this than I am. You want to take us through the plot?
No.
Okay. So Cardigan
Okay, no. We can take turns. So he goes home. He does the Back to the Future Part 2 thing where you just need a palm print and to say your name just to get entrance to the house, which makes me think, what could stop somebody from just chopping off somebody's hand and then just using that to get into their house?
He's got a really nice house on this
It's like on the beach.
Disgruntled
Yeah.
cops, disgraced cops out
Yeah.
there. Nice beach house, good sized house, got all the tech you want, nice furniture, right on the lake. Like, what's the problem here?
And again, the only attempt to make it look like a feature house is there's like a handprint scanner on the
Right.
door, and everything else is just a regular house. There's no attempt to make it look like a future house at all.
Yeah.
It's so lazy.
Yeah, and so he asks the computer, like, where's my wife? And, like, just thinking, like, he can just walk home and she won't be doing something, or he's asking, basically, where the wife and kid are, and they're not there. Like, he's trying to search for her, and then he finds a pre-recorded message that he still tries talking to anyway.
It's more evidence to suggest that Jake Cardigan may not be the sharpest knife in the drawer.
Well, hold on, 4 years,
also-
that might not have existed before.
They didn't have recordings back then in the year 2029 or whatever.
No.
But and you know what? Even after he realizes it's a recording, because his wife says, "So I sent you this recording or whatever." He still keeps talking to it like it's a phone call. He's so dumb.
And also, then she's like, I left 5,000 credits in the account. It's like, that house is not going to be sustainable on just 5,000 credits. Whatever the hell.
Like
$5,000?
15 years.
Yeah. We'll see in the future the housing market's going to drastically crash. It only takes about 30 credits a month for a luxury beach estate.
Okay.
So,
I see.
Yeah, I read all 9 TekWar novels to prepare for this, so I know the deep lore.
Oh, so it's pretty clean.
No, I'm kidding. No, I'm kidding. I would never ever.
I was honestly scared for your sanity when you said that. I was like, oh my god.
I would be on the fence of either reading this or the Twilight novels.
Well, since we brought it up, do you want me to take a little diversion to talk quickly about the TekWar novels?
Yes. Anything to avoid talking about this movie.
Now, in all of the various versions of TekWar that we're going to talk about, all the different TekWar media, William Shatner is the only one ever credited as being a writer. But TekWar was actually written by a sci-fi author named Ron Goulart. He was a ghostwriter, a very prolific pulp sci-fi writer in the 70s and 80s, although he's never been officially credited on any source.
That was on his own volition.
Yeah, it was written by Alan Smithy, basically.
Yeah.
And through my research, it's hard to tell if Shatner actually had any input into the writing of this. I want to give him the benefit of the doubt to say that he had some kind of creative input.
Just his character.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah, exactly.
I'm pretty sure that, like, I saw that apparently he came up with this idea during another a period of his creative genius during the making of Star Trek V, The Final Frontier.
When his creative juices were really flowing hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so everything TekWar related is written by Ron Goulart. Like I said, prolific writer in the 70s and 80s. He wrote a lot of comic books. He also wrote, like, if you look into the history of this guy, he was like one of these sci-fi writers where, like, you can give him a property and say, I need a book within a week, and he'd just write it for you. Like, kind of like an L. Ron Hubbard type. He just gets it out fast and quick, and he wrote...
Shows.
What's that?
It shows.
Yeah. I got a couple choice picks here. He wrote 7 books based on the comic book character Vampirella. He wrote 7 Flash Gordon novels. He wrote a lot of novelizations for Marvel Comics, including, I wrote this down because I love the name, Captain America novel titled Holocaust for Hire. So I just thought that was worth mentioning. And he wrote the entire series of Groucho Marx Master Detective. Apparently there was a series of novels where Groucho Marx was solving crimes.
Wow.
All written by Ron Goulart. So that's the level of author we're talking about here.
That's the craziest crime I ever heard.
And what might be interesting to Schweitzer is he wrote, his most notable work apparently is a book called The Encyclopedia of American Comics, 1897 to present.
Hmm.
He wrote that, as well as he's kind of seen as a comic book historian. He also wrote other omnibuses of comic history, so he's kind of a scholar of comic book history. He's wrote many books on the subject. Just out of curiosity, I found all of the names of all the TekWar books. Let's just go through them because they're just masterful works of creativity. So we have TekWar, obviously in 1989. 2 years later brought us Tech Lords. And in the same year as Tech Lords came out, we got the third book called Tech Lab. Fourth book is called, which came out 2 years later, called Tech Vengeance. In the same year as Tech Vengeance, want to take a guess what the next Tech book was called?
Tech Rebuttal, The Return of Tech.
No,
Tech Retribution.
The Rise of Tech.
No, that's way too
Tech
creative. Tech Secret was in 1993. Tech Secret.
Oh, fuck.
1994, Tech Power.
Tech Power.
Yeah. And 1995, any guesses?
Tech Messaging.
Oh, no, close.
Tech...
1995 brought us Tech Money.
Tech Money.
1996, the second last book in the series, was Tech Kill. And 1997, which capped off the entire series, TechNet.
TechNet.
And I think I know how Ron Goulart came up with this, just basically inserting random nouns after the word tech. So I found online there's a random word generator website. So I thought it might be fun to come up with some of our own tech books.
Okay.
So if we were to write tech books in the style of Ron Goulart, we might come up with Tech Death. That could be a bestseller.
Yeah.
You know.
Tech Resurrection.
Hey, I'm actually coming up with these on a website. Okay.
Yeah.
This is not from our imagination. This is serious literary work here. So generating more random words, we could write Tech Convict. That's actually kind of perfect. We stumbled on the Goulart formula here.
We better be copywriting this. If these books come out in 2 years with a big nostalgia kick for tech series,
I'm gonna write it over the weekend.
I'm already texting my attorney. Don't worry.
All right.
Coming up next could be Tech Slam. That could be like maybe a basketball themed one.
Oh yeah.
We can get Michael Jordan in this.
Oh yeah.
Or maybe Shaq.
Like a crossover, William Shatner and Michael Jordan.
Perfect.
No, Shatner and Shaq.
Oh my God! Together at last.
Shatner.
Shackner. Oh my God! Yes.
I'm Captain James T. Kirk of the United Federation of Free Throws.
We could follow that up with Tech Spontaneous. That's a little bit out there.
That's too many syllables.
Yeah, maybe that one will go. That'll be scrapped, and we can go straight on to Tech Assignment.
Ooh.
Not bad. Better do your homework.
Sounds like maybe they're taking on like secret spy missions to fight tech or something like that. This tech assignment will explode in 3, 2. How about Tech Studio? That seems like more of a place where you create tech.
That sounds like some computer program you do to like Photoshop, like Tech Studio. I'm gonna make this tech and
I'm gonna whip up this program quickly. This for my online business. I'll just use Tech Studio.
Yeah.
We're gonna do a couple more here. How about Tech Science? I mean that's perfect.
Yeah.
Right there. Tech Science. Tech Stamp. Now we're running out of ideas. Now we're going into like the post office and in the future. All right, one more. This is going to be the big book that's going to end off our modern retelling of the tech series. It's going to be TechKnit.
TechKnit.
That's when like that's when Jake Cardigan, how does he get his cardigans? He knits them, right? He knits them. The prequel. Yes. We're knitting the story of Jake Cardigan. Yes. Oh my God, we're gonna be millionaires.
We're gonna be billionaires.
Let's get tech trending on Twitter.
Yes.
And get some eyes on this. All right.
If we were actually like creative with Photoshop, we'd actually design some covers for these.
Oh, we could for sure.
We use Tech Studio.
That was a bit of fun.
Yeah.
Let's get back to the drudgery of TekWar. Where were we, Schweitzer?
The opposite of fun.
Yeah, the opposite of fun.
Okay, so after the recorded call from his wife, he finds that there's another message, but it's from his old partner. This is Sid Gomez. In the books, he's described as a Mexican. Here, he's played by an African American because we all know the proud black history of the family Gomez.
Diablo Negro.
Yeah,
oh, that episode's going to be censored by Peacock now.
We're never going to get up on Peacock at this rate. Yeah. Sid Gomez, by the way, played by Eugene Clark, who I actually, strangely enough, I have an autographed photo of because
you went to a tech convention.
I went to TechCon '95 when I was 8 years old. No. Because I don't remember where I got the picture. I think a friend got it for me because he played. Remember Land of the Dead?
Yes.
He played the big black zombie where he worked at the gas station.
Okay.
Remember him?
Yeah.
He was like the main zombie in that. That was Eugene Clark. So I have a signed photograph of Eugene Clark from Land of the Dead. It's the only thing I know him
Love
from.
your work in pumping gas.
Yeah.
This.
I think I remember.
He's at least got some charisma, but I think he's supposed to be more or less like a poor man's Keith David here.
Yeah, I got that vibe too. It's like Keith David didn't return their phone calls, and Ken Foree was busy that weekend, and Tony Todd was filming Candyman 3 or whatever, so they got to get Eugene Clark, basically. So yeah, and I read that on Wikipedia. His character is supposed to be Mexican in the book, which is I don't know why they would change that because he goes on to meet a Mexican pretty soon in a following scene.
Diversity and appropriation. I don't know.
Well, so he learns that his wife has left him and taken his son away. He sees a message from his partner and he wants to meet up with him again. So the next scene is. He wants to find his wife and son. So he goes to meet, I think, a tech dealer that he used to know called, was it Vasquez?
I think so. Because it looked like he was wearing a poncho at first.
He was literally wearing like a Mexican poncho and a wide-brimmed hat. But the character is obviously played by a white guy, and he's not even attempting to do a Mexican accent. He's just, he's just got a regular American accent. So
does he kind of look like Brent Spiner to you?
No.
Okay, maybe it's just me.
Yeah, I think everyone looks like a Star Trek character to Schweitzer.
Yes, that's true.
Brain is poisoned by it at this point. No, I didn't get that, but it was really weird just to see, like, maybe it's because, like, oh, it's the future and people dress wacky and weird and fashion trends. I don't know. It was weird to see this guy in, like, a wide brim hat and a poncho, and he's just a white guy. Mm-hmm. But his name is Vasquez, I think. I don't know. Weird. So he goes to him to try to find hackers in order to locate his wife and son. And through Vasquez, he finds these two hackers named, I think, Wingman and Cowgirl, I believe.
Something like that, because Cowgirl has got the worst Texas accent. Oh my God! Like, clearly, okay. Look, this is not Emmy award-winning material as much as Mr. Shatner would like us to believe. But like, come on, this is like the worst acting you could ever see on something like Xena Warrior Princess or Hercules or frickin' Andromeda.
This is exactly what I thought about watching this show. It's like, this is like right out of 90s Saturday afternoon syndicated D-level crap that nothing else on. Let's just watch it.
Absolutely. At least Hercules and Xena had good fight scenes, and the leads were charismatic.
Yes.
Jake Cardigan's kind of a wet blanket. I mean, he's played by Chris Evigan, who's a somewhat prolific actor. He's been in a lot of stuff, a lot of TV shows and TV movies and stuff like that. But like, he's somewhat well known. I've heard of him before.
This was probably just a paycheck.
Probably. Also, I don't know if you guys noticed who plays Cowgirl. I didn't actually recognize her because the version we watched was like a 240p VHS rip of the movie, because I don't even know if it's available on DVD or anything. Mm-hmm. But Cowgirl is played by Alexa Doig, who you might know as the ship Avatar from the TV show Andromeda. No, I was a big fan of Andromeda back in the day. I thought, okay, she was also the android in Jason X. Okay, I know.
I've seen Jason X.
I know who Lexa Doig is.
Fuck if I remember that movie because it was so dumb. But okay, she's been in something I've seen. Okay.
Oh, she wasn't the android, but she was one of the women. She was one of the main characters in Jason X. I know who Lexa Doig is because I used to be a big Andromeda fan.
Okay.
So I thought that was interesting. It was her second role ever on television. So anyway, so in our first sci-fi special effects extravaganza, the two hackers attempt to locate Jake Cardigan's wife and son through hacking the net, or no, the Matrix. They call it the Matrix.
Yeah.
Through hacking the Matrix, which basically means they sit in like dentist chairs with like wires coming out of them, and like they're like waving their hands in the air and like pressing on keyboards, and there's like 3D representations of like Tron all over them. Like it looks like Sub-Tron. Like it's a lot of geometric shapes and like
a screensaver from Windows Media.
Like a Windows screensaver. Yeah, exactly. Good way to describe it. Like projected all around them, and they're saying things like, "I'm hacking into the substream," and then they cut to like the cyber police on the other end, like trying to stop them. Like they're sending a white noise stream to block me out. Oh, I'm almost through, and then Cowgirl's saying stuff like, "Woo-wee, partner, hold on to your hats. This is a bumpy ride." It's so hilariously bad. I actually kind of like this scene because of how stupid it is.
Oh, God, it's like...
Go ahead, Schweitzer.
It reminded me of what George Lucas once said years and years ago about how a special effect is not the story. Okay? And that's what's happening here. They think that the special effects are the story.
I want to point out... Go ahead.
No, that's about it. It's just like nothing is happening. You just see somebody like sitting in a chair, rocking back and forth, waving their hand, and all this stuff's happening around them. But you don't understand what any of it is, though.
I want to point out to you something where less is more could make this work 1,000 times better, and it has worked 1,000 times better. Do you remember the episode? You will. The episode of DS9 where O'Brien was undercover with the Orion Syndicate.
Yep.
I knew you were going to bring this up.
And he's hacking into the financial or a bank or some sort of a financial institution to get money.
One of the guys has like a cable in his head.
And all you see is him doing his thing. He's describing what's happening. He's reacting. They're reacting in the background to what's happening. I don't even remember if there was music, but it's a dramatic scene, and you're picturing in your mind what he's going through and how it's happening just by their reactions and what he's describing. And it was a fairly, I wouldn't say riveting, but you were losing yourself in that scene, and that was 1,000 times more effective than what we got here.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. For sure, especially since like these hackers are like jacked into the Matrix or whatever. They could just, say, "I'm hacking in with my mind," and react to it. You don't have to spend $60 on special effects to create it. But yeah, that's a good example of less is more. So the hackers find his wife and his son, and I guess they communicate to his son through a hologram, because a hologram appears of his son and Jake Cardigan talks to him. I don't know how that was ever worked out.
I don't know, and also I don't know like how he didn't catch the son at just the right time. You notice that nobody's ever taking a dump or masturbating when they call it. It's kind of like, "Dad, what the fuck? What are you doing here? I'm trying to beat off."
"Dad, knock before you hollow project into my room."
Yes.
I'm teching off.
I like that. That's good. We're building our own universe here.
Hey, don't forget, with every famous franchise, there comes the porn parodies.
Oh, right.
So
TekWar.
We'll come up with those. Yes. Tech sluts.
Yeah. So yeah, he finds his son. His son basically says like, "Oh, Dad, you left me. How could you? Don't come back," type of thing. And that's about it. And then Schweitzer, what happens after this point?
Oh God. Well, basically Mr. Shatner. There's a man in an office who is kind of observing what's happening, but he's sitting in the shadows, and his secretary asks, "Should we help them?" And even though you don't see this guy's face, he just answers dramatically, "Yes." It's
They
like,
have
oh,
backs.
So, is this the point where Jake Cardigan meets up with his partner?
Okay. So he's back at his house. He decides that he's going to hook in. He picks up the tech and he has a bit of a flashback, and then he starts fantasizing about his wife.
Oh yeah, this is
And
where the scene where we actually find out what tech is.
yes,
Which is basically it's a little disc that you plug into like a head strap, kind of like Vader used to wear in the WWE or WWF, and you strap it to your head, and it's basically virtual reality. Because he gets lost in this tech fantasy of, I think it's his wife.
yeah, his wife returns, and like
Yeah.
he's like, for a while I thought it was real.
Yeah.
Like, because the scene goes on for quite a bit, but then his partner like puts his hand on him and he realizes, oh no, like this was a fantasy, and he's saying, no, she was really here, and his partner's mad at him.
Right.
This is how boring this guy is. He's basically had access to what's essentially an addictive VR drug where you can fantasize about anything in the world. And his VR porn experience of his own fucking wife? Jesus Christ.
Well, hey, don't be so cynical. He loved his wife, and
Yes.
he cared about her. You don't want to virtual cheat on her.
Then have the virtual dramatic moment where, hey, welcome home, I love you, you're the best, blah, blah, and then you virtual sex.
My thing is, though, it doesn't make sense to me how Jake Cardigan was arrested or he was put on the deep freeze for selling tech. He knows what tech is. He clearly uses tech, and yet when Eugene Clark like takes him out of the virtual reality, he's like, no, she was here. It was real. She was here. Like, you put on the virtual reality headset.
Right.
You know you were wearing it. Why do you think it was real?
I guess maybe that's how good it
Are they
and
trying
that's
to?
why it's illegal?
Now, that's one of the things I was confused about. Why tech is illegal in this feature? There is a quick. Winger says in the beginning they quickly pass this like junky looking guy, and he's like, oh, he's a tech head. They get addicted to it, and it burns out their synapses or whatever. So I guess we get the sense that the reason tech is addictive is because the simulation is so good, people get addicted to it and like burns their brain out or whatever. But Jake Cardigan's not some sort of tech addict.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is the first time he's used it in like 4 years. It was so weird to me. I'm like, oh, do you not remember putting on the tech headset like 2 minutes ago? Like, it's really weird that he thought it was real. And tech, they use tech as kind of just as like a substitute for drugs. They basically refer to it as like drugs.
Yeah.
And when you think about it, this is 1994. This is the war on drugs. This is right in the middle of like Dare and every arcade machine was saying winners don't use drugs. And that's what this show kind of reminded me of, is kind of like a big sci-fi drug PSA kind of thing. But I don't know. To me, maybe it's just looking back at it through modern sensibilities. Is it really such a bad thing? VR?
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, really, this is what's corrupting society and going to bring down society is fucking virtual reality?
Well, and we never really even see the negative consequences of tech. We see that one tech burnout in the beginning or whatever, and like we don't see why tech is such a horrible. Like they should have scenes where like they're walking down the street and everybody is just slumped in a corner with the headset on. Mm-hmm. Like people don't want to work, people don't want to move, people are starving to death because they don't want to get out of this tech thing. But there's no effort shown to convey to the audience why tech is such a bad thing. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. The threat is never really explained. Just, oh, tech is bad and take our word for it.
Because there doesn't seem to be like any time limit on it. Like, it's not like, so many credits will buy you so much of tech. So it's like, what is the downside? Because once you buy it, like, there you go. You don't have to get more. It's not like where you need to buy more and more heroin.
And they could have easily said, well, we had to make it illegal because people have found a way to hack into the tech or corrupt the tech where they're purposely frying people's brains, or they're finding ways to read your mind or implant suggestions into people or alter people's behavior. Or there's 1,000 things you could have said that the reason why this tech is bad for you because it opens up to a black market society
Yeah.
where they can do terrible things to people and thus make them do terrible things. But that never seems like it's addressed here.
The tech dealers are purposely making it addictive so that, people can't use it in moderation. They have to be addicted to it. But
Or they get trapped, like something fucks with the chemical in their brain where they get trapped inside that virtual reality.
Sure.
And don't have the cognitive ability to pull the headset off.
That's never communicated.
No.
It's just text bad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, where were we?
Diet Keith David takes his Cardigan, or takes Jake Cardigan, takes Cardigan to meet Bascom, played by Emmy Award-winning actor William Shatner.
Thespian.
Thespian.
Shatner.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
Now, I'll be honest. When I didn't know anything about this whole thing going into it, I just knew that William Shatner was the creator of it. I thought that he was going to be playing the lead. Mm-hmm. I was actually surprised that he was sort of taking a backseat role. Even though if you look at the poster on IMDb, his face is more prominent than Jake Cardigan's.
Of course. Even though I was surprised at Shatner's restraint that he was only in it for maybe he has 8 minutes, 10 minutes of screen time. He's not in it very much. And through my research, I found out that Walter Bascom is a recurring character. He's in every episode of the TV show and every movie, and he is a main character, but he's not in this very much.
It almost feels like this was just A, Shatner's career was kind of at a low point, and B, somebody had wrote some low-level, D-level sci-fi that just couldn't get it published or promoted. So it feels like the two of them just came together to make a deal like, hey, look, let me be your face of this. It'll help my career. And at the same time, because people know who I am, it's going to sell your books and subsequent crappy movies.
I honestly think the whole TekWar thing was an attempt for William Shatner to have another Star Trek, something that he completely owned, that his name was it's referred to as William Shatner's TekWar.
Right.
In almost every instance.
To the point where he even named it so you'd almost in your brain think Trek.
Yeah.
Trek Tech. Yeah. It's right there. It's fucking brilliant marketing.
And in 1994, they really pushed this hard. Like the books came out in 1989, and there was 9 books that started in 1989, but in 1994 they started off with this TV movie. There were 3, and I have it written here. Hold on, let me look here. I thought I had it written down. Okay, it premiered in 1994 in January, and then 3 movies following. The next movie, TekWar, Tech Lords, came out in February. So the next month there was another TekWar movie, and then TekWar, Tech Justice, the 3rd movie, came out in May. So within the span of 5 months, there was 3 TekWar movies on TV, and then the TV series, which ran for 2 seasons, I think, came out in December. So they were really pushing TekWar in 1994. And like I said, like Schweitzer said, this was promoted in the WWE. There was TekWar video game. There was all kinds of TekWar stuff. So they were really pushing this hard.
And you could argue that was conveniently right at the peak of Star Trek phenomena in the mid-90s.
Oh, yeah. Next Generation in 94 would have been just ending.
They were doing the movies. They had DS9, Voyager. I remember, in mid-90s, Star Trek was just fucking huge at the time. It was
everywhere.
Yeah. So what a better time than to push this. Do you guys remember the Simpsons reference?
Kids have to learn about TekWar sooner or later.
There you go.
I do not know. Sorry.
Well, since I mentioned the WWF crossover promotion, we might as well talk about this a little bit. Bubs, do you remember this?
Anything to avoid the... Yeah. I do remember William Shatner. I don't remember what it was for.
So William Shatner had a 2-episode arc on Raw. In the first episode, he was feuding with Jerry Lawler. And in the week after, he came back to help Bret Hart, or to team up with Bret Hart in a match. He didn't actually compete in the match, but he was the special enforcer, I guess, for Bret Hart in a match between him and Jeff Jarrett.
Okay.
And
is during the dark times.
There are 2 Shatner promos, one in each of these, and I took the liberty of writing out a transcript of both of these. And I'm thinking maybe our resident Shatner impersonator Bubs would want to read one of these promos as William Shatner. So this is the Shatner promo in the first episode about Jerry Lawler. I have it written for you here, and I put ellipses for the Shatner pauses to help you out. So this is Shatner's promo against Jerry the King Lawler.
Okay. Look, I know all about Jerry Lawler and the King's Court. King's Court? More like home of the Whopper. And I know that makes him mad, but I don't care. See, if he gets in my way, if he offers me any trouble, he's going to be out of here. If you excuse the expression. At warp speed. I'm here to promote TekWar. Not to fight, not to wrestle. So Lawler, leave me alone.
Beautiful, beautiful. I love how his promo on a wrestling show, he says, I'm not here to fight or wrestle. I'm here to promote TekWar.
That's what I was about to say. It's like, oh my God.
I'm just here to shill my show. I don't give a shit about this stuff.
Refresh my memory. Wasn't he a guest host in like 2011 or 12?
In 2010, he came back to do a spoken word version of Wrestler's Theme.
Yes.
Where he, quote unquote, sung Sexy Boy.
Yes, I do remember
that.
Which
was amazing.
Wasn't there a bunch of different ones?
Yeah, he did Rey Mysterio's theme as well. He did Triple H. He did the game, Triple H's theme.
He's just the gold mine of entertainment.
Fucking love that guy. And then he came back the following week to continue to promote TekWar, where he was the protector, I guess you could say, for Bret Hart in a match against Jeff Jarrett. And I have the promo for that as well, and this will take 2 of us, Bubs.
Okay.
It's Bret Hart and Shatner. They're talking about the match coming up, and Shawn Michaels is kind of interviewing them.
Okay.
So I will be Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels.
Okay.
You can be Shatner, and as you see here, I don't know if you remember this promo, but it's really funny because during everything Bret and Shawn Michaels says, Shatner keeps interrupting them with his asides. So in Bret and Shawn's script here, I've got these bold words highlighted. That's Shatner's interruptions.
Okay.
So be sure to interrupt me with those words when we get to these parts, okay? So let's recreate this the Shatner promo, okay?
Yeah.
So this is Bret Hart.
Okay.
You know, I think everybody's worried or not whether I have ring rust, but the fact is there is none.
None.
And I feel 100%.
I've seen it work.
And I'm going to destroy. I've got fire in my blood. There's no rust in my blood, and I can't wait to step in the ring with Bill Shatner and Michaels.
Oh, watch his back.
You got to interrupt me.
I know, I'm sorry.
Okay, and this is Shawn Michaels. Mr. Shatner?
Yeah.
Heartbreak Kid Shawn Michaels here.
I know who you are.
Now I realize you're going to be watching the back of Hitman Bret Hart.
That's what I'll be watching.
Right? My question for you is, who is going to be watching your back?
Nobody needs to watch my back. I take care of myself. I took care of Lawler last week. I'll take care of him. I've got something to tell Rudy. Stay out of my way. Don't get anywhere near Bret Hart. Roadkill. That's what you mean to me. Not Rudy. Roadkill. From me. That's my answer to you.
Perfect. Amazing.
Oh my God.
That was William Shatner in WWF Raw.
How the hell were they getting their ass kicked by WCW at this time? I just don't understand it.
Because they had the Yeti! Shatner versus the Yeti!
I can just picture Eric Bischoff watching this and going like, we got to spend that extra money for RoboCop.
Russo!
Later on, you gotta watch that promo with Bret Hart and Shatner.
Oh, I do.
It's amazing. It's
really
really
good up on the network tonight.
Yeah, so that's Shatner in the WWF.
Whew, he's fun to do.
Yes, for sure.
The day of Shatner. We should have a day of Shatner. Just
don't propose that to him. He'll make it into an entire week. The size of that man's ego.
He'll make it into an entire year.
We'll Wait till he's dead.
It'll be like the year of the pig, the year of the rooster, the year of the Shatner. So where were we? Oh yeah, we gotta get back to talking about TekWar.
We get introduced to Mr. Shatner, and he explains that he runs a private security firm, and Diet Keith David works for him, and he wants Cardigan to come work for him.
So Shatner basically bailed Cardigan out of the freeze so that he could work for Bascom in his private security. I don't remember what it's called, his private security tech or whatever. And the mission that he is on is there's this scientist named Dr. Kitteridge who has developed a crystal which supposedly, if it's put up in a satellite, can project this pulse onto Earth, which will instantly destroy all the tech.
Okay.
And I don't know if this is revealed yet or not, because the plot is actually kind of complex. There is a rival tech dealer. This is Vasquez. Yeah, there's a rival tech dealer named Vasquez. No, that's Sonny Hikori. His name is Sonny Hikori, who has developed a new strain of tech that's immune to this crystal.
Crystal proof.
Yeah. So that, and he's working. He hired Dr. Kitteridge to make this crystal that will destroy all tech but his tech, and they are looking to get Dr. Kitteridge back so that I guess they won't destroy all the tech. That's where it gets confusing, because it's like Sonny Hikori, this tech dealer, wants Kitteridge's crystal to destroy the tech that's not Sonny's so that he'll corner the market. But Walter Bascom, who is against tech, he's trying to shut down tech, doesn't want that to happen.
Mm-hmm.
But surely getting rid of, the majority of the tech is still a good thing.
Right.
I don't know why they want to take this crystal. It doesn't really make sense to me.
Other than we need to figure out how this crystal is to old tech and create a new crystal that is to the new tech, maybe?
Maybe. I don't understand, but that becomes the plot of the movie, to find this Dr. Kitteridge, take the crystal back, and defeat this tech kingpin, Sonny Hikori.
That becomes one of the plots of this
One of
movie.
the plots, yeah. So I think this is the point where Kitteridge, is this where he finds the android?
Well, he gives him the gun first, and then they go to the park.
Oh, yeah, he gives him the space gun, which
is
the latest. Sorry, go ahead.
The latest in plasma propellant, technically non-lethal. I was like, I didn't get that. It's like, what do you mean technically non-lethal? It either is or it isn't.
It's like how Batman technically doesn't kill people. He just beats them up to the point where they have grievous internal bleeding and are probably going to die in the hospital later. But technically, he doesn't kill anyone.
Most of the people he beats up doesn't have health care. So
that. Yeah. Technically non-lethal, but you're probably going to kill everybody.
And it just basically makes this weird floopy thing on the screen, and you go, whoa!
It's like a sci-fi gun that's it's like a sci-fi pistol that's like 5 times as big as a regular gun, which they still use in this universe. Like, characters have regular handguns, but he's got the sci-fi gun, which shoots like a pulse wave that knocks people over.
Yeah.
It's almost kind of like the, wasn't that the gun from Minority Report?
I don't really remember Minority Report, to be honest.
Okay.
Does it have minorities in it?
Yeah, hopefully they'll report it.
It's got Tom Cruise. He's a Scientologist. They're minorities.
Suppose so.
Religious minorities.
So he gets the space gun, and then...
So he goes to the park. They're going to meet the woman who's...
Sorry, go ahead. I was just reminded of the amazing scene that's coming up.
Oh, God, we're only here.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, let's try to move a little bit
We're
faster.
3 minutes in. So there's a woman, a young girl who's in all white. She's got some flowers, and there's a woman who's walking her dog. Yeah. There's this old woman who's walking her dog. The dog stops and starts barking at this lady for unknown reasons, and the lady with the dog just keeps letting the dog do this for like 5 minutes. It's like, hey,
Basically.
yeah, it's like, why don't you just tell the dog, hey, shut up, we're gonna keep walking, like, what's your deal? But then Diet Keith David notices, wait a minute, that's not a real girl, shoot her. Like, he because she's going to attack the woman who sent the message. I don't know. It's just a kamikaze android.
Yeah, they're there to meet somebody who I don't really remember what her purpose is.
It's the woman who sent that message to Bascom, to William Shatner's character. And it's like,
Yeah.
I'll send my driver to pick you up. No, I can't trust anyone. It's like, okay, then why are you going to trust Bascom?
So I have a question.
Yes.
The purpose of tech, which has never been clearly defined, is basically to find yourself in a virtual reality world, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I'm assuming most guys are just using it for sex.
Oh, yeah.
But lifelike androids exist.
Yeah.
Why am I in a virtual reality world when there are literally androids that are indistinguishable from real females?
Because consent still matters.
They programmed the fucking android to consent. Like, are we in a Star Trek Picard world where we can't have them as slaves, but they are? And I don't understand.
I don't know. Yeah, so realistic humanoid androids exist.
Can we
There's
at
like
least
3 of
say
them.
the tech like increases your endorphins or something? Like a chemical release? Can we say that?
Well, that would make a lot of sense, but then you're not Ron Goulart.
Like the game in that 7th or 6th, 5th
In the-
season episode of Next
TNG?
Generation?
Yeah.
The game.
The game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Something. Give us something to work with here.
So yeah, apparently they need to pick up this woman who is dressed exactly like Carmen Sandiego for some
Yes.
reason. She's wearing like a bright red trench coat and like wide brimmed hat. And that was really weird.
Maybe you can help Cardigan out with his math and deductive reasoning skills.
Maybe.
Okay, team. You've been in jail for 4 years. How old is your kid?
40?
Yeah, so as soon as Carmen Sandiego comes on the scene, this like little Bo Peep android gets up and like runs at her and explodes. And I have to say the explosion looked pretty cool.
The explosion looked cool.
That
That's
was
where the whole budget went.
That was a good special effect. I still don't remember why she was a professor or a scientist, because later her daughter comes in to meet. I swear to God I understood this plot yesterday. I did, and it's all escaped my mind.
I could live to be as old as William Shatner, and I don't think I'll ever understand this plot.
So Carmen Sandiego explodes, and then this is a bad episode.
This is.
Blame me for it. It was my idea to watch this stupid thing.
We'll just cut everything out but the Shatner read.
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, Bascom says, "Okay, we think we know where the professor went. His daughter went looking for him, and it seems that her ship crashed in this jungle. And this jungle / wilderness, it's not really clear. It's more of like the mountains of Alberta almost. It's kind of like, wait, this was filmed in Canada, wasn't it? I mean, I know it was
It's all filmed in Toronto.
Okay, well, there you go. So,
They went to the fucking park.
They went to the zoo.
So, Shatner says, but the area that it crashed in, it's under the control of this like anti-tech person who calls herself War Bride.
Yes.
Played by Sheena Easton.
Yeah, strangely enough, Sheena Easton plays this. Well, she's like an environmentalist terrorist. She talks about the environment being taken over by technology, not tech specifically, but technology and modern society. And she lives in the jungle, and she's got like a band of rebels with guns or whatever. Guns are technology, but apparently they don't count that. Who are going to, I don't know, take back the world? I don't know.
And this was her big foray into acting.
And her name is War Bride, and she gives this speech where she says, I live in war. I will forever be the bride of war. I have made it my partner, and it is with me always. I'm like, that's not what War Bride means. War Bride is when, like, in World War II, if you go over to fight in Japan and you get some Japanese woman pregnant and then bring her back with you. That's a war bride. Mm-hmm. She literally says, I'm married to war, which is like almost like Ron Goulart heard the term war bride and didn't bother to look up what it meant. He just guessed.
It literally sounds like a name that you'd hear in wrestling for the women's division.
Sure.
We went on our honeymoon. We killed about 1 million Jews. It was a great time.
You're skipping ahead because there was a scene where he meets an android version of the daughter of Professor Kitteridge, named Beth Kitteridge, who is probably my favorite part of the movie. The actress who plays her, Trisha, I can't remember her name. I think her performance is actually pretty good. There's a scene in which later on where she's an android and she's using tech to relive the memories of the real Beth Kitteridge, and I think that scene was actually pretty well acted. I think she does a good job at conveying like fear and like confusion and some real emotion in that scene. It's literally the only performance in this thing that's any good. Mm-hmm. So I was trying to find positives in this horrible experience, and I think her performance is pretty good, and she's very good. And she's pretty hot in it too.
I'll give you that.
I like her performance. Should we just give up at this point, or?
I almost want to, but I'm going to try to fast forward through this as much as we can.
Let's just get to the crux and the point of this whole movie, because I couldn't figure it out.
What is the point of it? You fight a hologram.
The tech is bad. So basically,
a factory.
Well, Warbride's second in command, who is literally dressed like a Klingon from the old TOS Star Trek.
Yeah, you're right.
Like I saw this guy. It's like, oh, it's a Klingon. Like, this is the wrong William Shatner franchise, you idiot. But no, it's Warbride's second in command. He's, working with the bad guys, and Warbride is, pissed about this. The real professor's daughter is dead. Her ship was shot down from the sky, and we find out that Jake Cardigan was set up, but we don't know who did it. Like, there's some sort of big mystery. His ex-wife shows up, and it's possible that her new husband might be involved with the tech, but she doesn't want to believe it. And then all of a sudden, his teenage son is there, and as soon as I saw that, I thought, that's a kamikaze android.
Yeah.
Okay? Like, why would... Don't you think your ex-wife would be like, look, I brought the kid with me. He's over here. Like, just go talk to him. But no, but instead, the different android, the daughter android, gets blown up too, and it's like, oh no, like she killed herself to save me. Maybe she was more than a machine because she was able to absorb the memories of the real her.
Well, this is a good example of how one single line of dialogue could have solved that problem, because they did that stupid thing where the android kid who is supposedly Cardigan's son is running up to him going like, Dad. He's like, oh, Jake Jr. or whatever the fuck his name is, and he wants to go hug him, and the android Beth Kitteridge stops him. He says, wait, no. And then he's like, that's my son. And she's like, Jake, no. She just, like, because you can tell that she knows he's an android. Mm-hmm. She could have just said, that's not your son, that's an android. But no, she just says, no. And then she, like, pushes him aside, and then she runs up to the android and takes the explosion and, blows up to save his life. All she had to do was say, that's an exploding android. And they both could have lived. It's so stupid. Yeah. Although, and then again, that's my favorite part of the movie, when those two explode, because they actually explode a dummy, mm-hmm. and it actually looks pretty decent. So that was my favorite part of the movie, when the androids explode. Yeah. Oh, we forgot the amazingly important scene where Sheena Easton's second in command tricks Jake Cardigan into going to a hockey arena and then tries to kill him with robot hockey players. Because we filmed this in Toronto.
Oh, God,
yes,
it was so
much.
Stupid. It was like, hey, remember that scene in Running Man?
Yeah.
That wasn't as terrible?
Oddly enough, it's funny. This was filmed in Toronto. It takes place in the 22nd century, 22nd or 23rd. The Leafs still haven't won the Stanley Cup.
Yeah. How are we going to kill Jake Cardigan? Well, we've got tons of guns. No. Robot hockey players. They got a killer slap shot. We'll trick him into going to the arena, and then we'll sick the robot hockey players on him. Just shoot him!
Do you know what this also reminded me of? Did either of you guys watch The Office all the way through?
Yes.
Do you remember Threat Level Midnight?
Oh, yeah, Michael Scott's
This is fucking Threat Level Midnight right here. Michael Scarn.
Yeah.
Oh, the hockey scene.
You know, if I ever have to come up with an example of pointless padding scenes in movies, I'm going to remember the hockey scene in TekWar, because there's literally no point to it other than we got a hockey rink that Chris Evigan's cousin owns, and he'll let us use it for the afternoon, and we don't have to pay to film there.
We're also glossing over the fact
Greg,
that in a world where apparently a fucking VR drug is like the worst possible thing that can happen on the planet right now, you have lifelike exploding androids that can be made to look exactly like the person they're impersonating, look and sound like. Don't you think that would be a bigger problem you want to address? Wouldn't you think they'd be fucking blowing up these fucking androids everywhere? This would be like a huge war going on right now?
But people are fucking in their minds.
Jesus Christ.
Jake Cardigan's having sex with his wife. This is a problem, and we need to stop it.
Not like, hey, I have an android that looks like the president. I can just have him go in the middle of the fucking Pentagon and blow the fucking thing up. We gotta get on this fucking VR drug.
Yeah, that's a good point. The exploding androids, not a big deal.
They did not really fucking map this world out very well.
You think?
Well, it's like I was telling Wrecker in the text message. It's almost like they tried to write this as a film noir.
Kind of, yeah, because you got the future. It's kind of like, I want to say discount Blade Runner, because it's not even close to that.
It's not even the Kmart Blade Runner.
But now I will notice. I noticed the jacket that Cardigan is wearing through the entire thing. It's like bright. It's like 90s powder blue, and he wears like a pink shirt, which is so freaking 90s. But he has the collar on it is like a corrugated kind of corduroy collar, and it looks kind of like the coat that Decker wears in Blade Runner. I don't know if you remember the coat he has. It's got this kind of big collar around it, and it's like corrugated.
Kinda.
It's kind of like not corrugated. That's like for cardboard. It's It's like a corduroy collar.
Right.
It kind of looks like that. So maybe they were trying to go for a Blade Runner thing, but failed absolutely miserably. Because I would be surprised if they spent more than a couple $1,000s on this freaking movie. It looks so cheap. Like I said, any of the sci-fi sets are just like, they've got like computer monitors and like keyboards, and there'll be like some piece of sci-fi equipment with like hooks coming out of it and like wires, and that's it. Like, it's the lamest thing I've ever seen. It's like Shatner says,
hey, remember the guys that did the bar scene in Star Trek V? Let's get them to do all the special effects.
Yeah, but we're not going to pay them half.
Paying cold cuts and non-alcoholic beer.
Well, I don't know. Let's just get to the end. We find out that the person who set up. Okay, Jake Cardigan was not dealing in tech. He was set up by, drum roll, it was Winger, the cop who busted him out of the deep freeze in the first place. He was a secret heel, and he framed Cardigan by not knocking him out and putting a tech headset on him with a simulation to make him think he was dealing tech, I think.
Sure. Something
like that, and that's the Swift. Android Beth Kitteridge finds that out, and they kill Winger at the end by electrocuting him somehow.
All this space age technology and android reproduction stuff, but they don't have like body cams and trackers and stuff on the car side.
Oh, and after Android Beth is blown up by the kamikaze drone, just like a scene later, they go to this lab, and Cardigan finds the real Beth Kitteridge, who is surprised she's alive, even though Sheena Easton said she had died. And they defeat Winger, and he walks off arm in arm with the real Beth Kitteridge, even though they have known each other for about 5 minutes at that point. Because I think the writers forgot that there was real Aunt Beth and Android Beth, and they thought they were the same person.
I fucked your android.
Yeah.
Again, another Star Trek reference when Geordi is falling in love with the engineer there.
Oh, yeah.
Leah Brahms.
Leah Brahms.
Yeah.
Oh, I know you. I feel connected to you because I banged your hologram.
That was one of the most awkward scenes in Next Gen, where Leah Brahms finds the holographic version of herself.
Yeah.
It's like finding a real doll of yourself in your best friend, in your brother's.
Good thing Barkley didn't have at that program.
Oh my God.
Jesus.
Barkley has got like Section 31 level encryption codes on all of his programs, I'm sure.
Clever enough to hide his stuff. Computer, load my or save my hentai under table tennis program 323.
Yeah.
That brings up an interesting point, and I'm going to deviate from what we're talking
Are we
about.
going to talk
here
about Star
for a
Trek
minute.
now?
A little bit. So, I remember in DS9, Kira mentioning something about taking somebody's holo image
Yes.
and putting it in the holo suites was illegal, some form of crime. They didn't say what it was, what branch of crime it was under, or what jurisdiction of crime it was under. But you do remember that being a thing, right?
Yeah,
Yes,
that was when Quark was trying to create a holo program for some skeevy alien who was infatuated with Kira.
So wouldn't Barkley doing that with Troy and Crusher? Because you know he was fucking them, because they were like all over him, and in that I forget what episode it was, the one where they were doing like Robin Hood or something like that, and
Sorry, Schweitzer, what was it?
Hollow Pursuits.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you remember they were like all over him in that.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that pretty much be the same thing? I mean, he's essentially raping them.
Well, now, okay, not that I'm defending Mr. Barkley, but my view on that was perhaps you have to remember DS9 is a Bajoran space station, and it's just administered by the Federation. So maybe according to Bajoran law, using stuff like somebody's own image in a holosuite is
Because you're selling it?
Yes.
Or more likely, there probably isn't even a law, because I don't think the Bajorans have holo technology,
Right.
so there's probably no law against it.
Maybe.
No, I think the Bajorans do have holo technology.
Is it ever shown?
Well, yes.
The
And
holosuite
technically,
is Cardassian. Holosuites are Cardassian.
Yeah.
No. Regardless, they own them. It's their property.
Yeah, but the Cardassians, like they own the station because the Cardassians abandoned it. I'm saying that there's probably no laws on the book about holo imaging because the Bajorans never developed that technology.
Well, we don't know.
It's like how if humans right now had discovered aliens have landed and we stole their warp drives, there wouldn't be laws against warp drives because we never created them.
So I think the point I'm trying to make is like, okay, if you create an image to bang in the holosuite of somebody that's a real person, it's okay to do as long as they're not paying for it. Or would banging somebody in the holosuite regardless of their image be akin to basically whacking off to a picture of somebody, only it's three-dimensional and interactive?
You can look at it from this perspective. We know that holo images of the crew exist for training purposes.
Mm-hmm.
So those images were captured with that in mind. Barkley probably took those characters from a training program, put them over in his Robin Hood program to fuck them. He didn't take their images against their will to use for his own perverse.
So he kind of manipulated it to his own design, and therefore it's creepy as fuck.
Yeah.
But there's really no law against it because, like I say, like once you have a picture of somebody,
Right.
they can't determine what you do. I mean, obviously you can't publish that picture and redo it to the point where you're going to sell that image in a magazine and make it look like a porno mag. But I mean, if you have a picture of somebody, you whack off to it, nobody can stop you from doing that.
Exactly.
So I guess it's kind of the same way.
It wasn't until Voyager until the concept of holographic rights started coming into play anyway.
But then I also wonder too, is there some sort of rule that's saying you can't have sex in a Federation holodeck that's on a ship?
There should be.
Because let's be real here, when you say computer ed program, things are going to still be there.
Yeah.
So who's cleaning that up?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Wesley.
So I guess maybe that's the thing is like there's got to be some sort of Federation rule that says, hey, this is not a holo suite, this is a holodeck. You can't be fucking banging on this thing because it's just going to make a mess.
We know Riker was.
Yes.
As soon as Picard... Minuet, yeah. Yeah, so...
Manure net.
That was
and Wesley had to go book some time in there to fucking get his teenage frustrations out.
Oh, he must have.
Well, he wasn't the only one. I mean, frickin' Geordi, like we were saying.
Geordi for sure.
Yeah,
Geordi for sure.
So, these are just questions I have because it's more interesting than what we're talking about.
Oh, God, is it ever. And that was William Shatner's TekWar.
Yeah. Before we continue, before we finish off, Schweitzer, do you want me to quickly talk about the TekWar comic book series?
Yeah, I believe it or not, I did see. I remember as a kid seeing advertisements for that in comics, and I kept thinking that it said William Shatner's TrekWar.
Wait, hold on. I know we ended what we were talking about, but so how did the movie end? Did they stop this crystal thing? Did they stop whatever was happening? Or
Let's just
we
put it
They
like this:
arrested.
the movie ended. The
okay,
end.
it's an ending. Let's just leave it at
They
that.
rescued
Yeah.
Professor Kitteridge. They arrested Sonny Hikori. They found out that Winger had framed Cardigan for dealing tech, and they killed him.
Okay,
And that's about it.
okay, so there's still way more crap going on in the bigger scheme of things.
Oh, for
that we
sure.
don't honestly care about. Okay.
So William Shatner's Tech World was a comics book series. Was published by Marvel Comics from 1992 to 1995. So 3 years worth. Well, actually, 2, 3, 4. About that'd be 4 years worth of comics, but only producing 24 issues over 4 years. So not a huge run. It was written by Evan Skolnick and drawn by Lee Sullivan. And I looked those two up. Schweitzer, have you heard about any of those two?
For some reason, the name Lee Sullivan sounds familiar to me, but I don't know why.
It is a fairly common two.
Yeah.
Two I looked them up, and they were a staple of comic books throughout the 80s and 90s. They wrote and drew for Marvel a lot. They drew and wrote. They weren't a team, but various comics they did, like Spider-Man and Punisher and X-Men, and they worked a lot in Marvel in the 90s. Nothing that really stood out to me as like a memorable book or anything, but they were working artists. So yeah, that ran for a few years, and then it was revived. The TekWar comic book series was revived in 2009. For some reason, there was a resurgence of TekWar. In 2009, there was a comic series that ran from 2009 to 2013, and it was released by the prestigious Blue Water Comics. Ever heard of them, Schweitzer?
For some reason, it does sound familiar, but it's probably like one of the lower tier comic book publishers, even lower than IDW or Boom.
Way lower. Apparently, they're now called Tidal Wave Comics.
Right out of a closet.
Written by Scott Davis, who apparently, from what I can see in my research, was not very happy about writing TekWar because I looked up his profile on Comic Books database and it's not on there.
Because they made him watch the movie for canon.
Yeah. There's almost no information about Scott Davis writing. It took me a long time to find out who wrote it. Oh, and it's not available anywhere online. Apparently, according to IMDb,
He got canceled, thankfully.
according to not IMDb, according to Wikipedia, the rights to the TekWar comic book are owned by Devil's Due Comics, another one I've never heard of. But it does not appear on their online store at all. And I've looked, and there is as far as I can tell, there is no way to view these comics online at this point.
Oh no, I sure hope it doesn't get tied up for years in litigation, so we can't ever get a new one. Oh,
Yeah.
No.
I also found a torrent of the entire run of the original TekWar series because that also is not available.
And like no seeds.
Surprisingly, there were no seeds for it, and I was not able to download it in preparation for this show. But I tried.
Womp womp.
Schweitzer, have you ever heard of Devil's Due Comics?
Again, it sounds familiar, but it's lower tier. Like I don't think I've ever read anything from them.
Interestingly enough, I had never heard of it, but I did a little research. They are the company who produced, get this, the Trailer Park Boys comic.
Oh, really?
Oh.
And two series which I know Schweitzer is a big fan of. The series Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez and the Freshman Force.
Oh, Jesus
And
Christ. Devils indeed.
And the Bernie Sanders comic Talk Bernie to Me. I know that Schweitzer's a big fan of those. He says it's right up there with Amazing
Why are
Spider-Man.
these a thing?
Why are these a thing? So that, well, if the AOC comic is for white guys who, just want to simp over Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, like W, and I don't know. It's like Bernie bros who want to like, oh yeah, this is supporting Bernie. It's like it's going to a company Corporation. I thought those were bad things.
Kids aren't going to read it and understand it. Comic book fans aren't going to give a shit about it. So what is the target audience here?
Are these like
Simps and literal people who want to pretend that they actually care.
The only thing I can think of is that these might have been like free giveaways at the Democratic National Convention or something like that.
Somebody?
I don't know.
Is this so like a parent can go to a rally and then, you know, when the kid at home in the morning is like, bring me back something. It's like, here you go, got your comic book.
Surprisingly, there's not a lot of information about these comics online.
Right.
But I just wanted to demonstrate how the TekWar IP was not very beloved by the comic book publishing world. I also wrote a quick paragraph about the video game, but you guys don't care. It's not important.
Okay. What console? That's all I want to know.
PC.
Okay.
It was a shooter on the PC in 1995, made on the Build engine, which was the famous engine programmed by Ken Silverman that supported the game. It was made famous by Duke Nukem 3D.
How was this not a game on the Oculus? I mean,
of course,
come on.
Because the Oculus is new and nobody has cared about TekWar since 1994.
There was two questions I had. One, in the original comic, is the art at least decent?
No.
Okay.
Okay. The original comic from the 90s, I found some panels. It's okay if you like the 90s comic style. Like, it's very
rough.
It's very Rob Liefeld. A lot of big guns and shoulder pads, and you know, if you liked the comic style in the 90s, it's not bad.
Okay.
The 2009 version is like sub-deviant art level. It's fucking bad. Like, Schweitzer, look up, if you want, I think it's called TekWar Chronicles. I didn't write that down, but the new version of TekWar comic, it's embarrassing. Like, I would love to know numbers. If these comics ever sold, I can't imagine them selling more than
hold on. TekWar Chronicles. Okay, no, I thought I recognized one of the names. I misread it, but I thought it was Shane Davis. I thought it was an actor, or rather an artist whom I've actually met once, and it's like, oh my god, like he did this, like he did really good. He did much better work on the Superman comic, but no, it wasn't him. I'm going to be sending. I've just sent you the cover in the Skype chat if you want to take a look at that for yourselves.
Yeah, there's the cover of the first issue. I guess that's supposed to be William Shatner down there.
Okay.
He looks like somebody's uncle, but.
Oh God! Like this one's
Gomez here. I don't know. This guy looks like Sean William Scott. Looks like
yes, that's who it looks like.
Sean William Scott. Yeah.
I'm sending another one just because it's like you can just tell the ego from Shatner on the cover.
You know, Sean William Scott's in the careers about the position where he'd take a new TekWar remake gig.
Oh, probably.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. His face, Shatner's face, is silhouetted against the entire Earth. Oh. That symbolizes his ego.
Mm-hmm.
And this isn't even like this. Looks like it's traced over photographs.
Yeah.
That's not even drawn.
Tracers.
Yeah. So I just
Trace War.
Basically, I wanted to provide you guys with a little bit of a glimpse of all the history of TekWar and other medias, and try to draw everyone's attention away from the TV movie for a while, because I know none of you'd want to talk about it. So closing thoughts?
Yeah. What's the legacy of the TekWar franchise here? Like, did this draw any kind of numbers on USA Network? Did these movies did anything make any money? Because it seems like this, other than the odd Simpsons reference, I don't know anybody who's ever talked about TekWar, who's ever brought up TekWar. Like, is this almost forgotten in history? Is there pretty much no legacy here?
It's almost like that to me, from my observation anyway. I mean, this is what the LA Times said of the series as it aired. Quote, "No one will confuse William Shatner's TekWar with serious science fiction. With Greg Evigan as a disgraced ex-cop teaming with another ex-cop who's black and a female android, it's a lot like the Mod Squad visits Wild Palms." End quote. And
I don't know what Bubs is, but okay.
Yeah, I don't know what that is. The Pittsburgh Post-Gazette gave a negative review saying, quote, keep the action flowing and the gizmos glowing, and maybe no one will notice that your plot lacks the credibility of a politician's promise. It almost works for William Shatner, who has produced and directed the first of 4 telemovies based on his series of science fiction novels. It's like, oh, Entertainment Weekly gave this show a rating of a D.
Wow.
I'm curious to see if there's any modern reviews on like Rotten Tomatoes or IMDb. Pull up Rotten Tomatoes, see if this is even on there.
Oh, it's on there.
Is it? I'm pulling up IMDb right now to see. So it's surprisingly a 6.1 out of 10.
That's not bad for IMDb.
Right?
Well, actually, no. I think IMDb tends to scale a little bit higher.
But I've seen where people just think it's shit. They'll just shit. Like, I'm seeing like a good sci-fi and series. 8 out of 10, better than I expected. 6, not too addictive.
These are all written by William Shatner.
Yeah, that's it.
Shatner spends a lot of time online these days, as we know, so he's probably written all these reviews himself.
Okay, so on Rotten Tomatoes, there is no actual review from critics, but the audience score has given it a 36%.
Okay.
36%. And I just found that according to the synopsis, this movie takes place in the distant future of 2044.
Oh, okay.
Wow. To be fair, on IMDb, there's only like 8 reviews. So yeah, it could be just people that worked for them, or
could be
just people. Maybe it's nostalgia, because let's face it, the average person's probably not going to ever come across this randomly. Like, you're not going to be watching.
No, you have to seek it out.
A TV show, or it's not going to pop up on your Netflix search bar.
I will say,
you had to know it's a thing.
All of the TV movies are on YouTube. And all of this TV series episodes are on YouTube.
Yeah.
And the movies all they've been up there for like 7 or 8 years, I think. And they've all got about 40 to 60,000 views. Now, that doesn't mean they were watched all the way through. Mm-hmm. That's pretty low, though. Now, I like how you mentioned the legacy of TekWar, because there is, in my mind, there is basically no legacy of TekWar. It's basically forgotten. It's a footnote in Shatner's career. Like I said, probably, or like you said earlier, probably more people know TekWar as the joke from The Simpsons than, a TV show that starred William Shatner. It's
like, does William Shatner even care about this anymore? Does he ever push it or try to do anything with it, or is he?
I bet he's bitter about it, because I think this was really him trying to get his name out there, to have another hit sci-fi franchise, because this is all him. Like, his name is all over it. He stars in it. Like, the fact that Ron Goulart, the ghostwriter, was never, ever credited as writing it shows that Shatner wanted this to be his. I think it was kind of an ego project, or kind of a, like, I need to get my name back in the spotlight project, while spending as little money and putting as little effort into it as possible. But yeah, it's basically completely forgotten.
Like, I would just love to hear him talk about it now. Like, do you think this was good? Does this hold up to your standards? Or are you just like, I was just trying something and it didn't fucking work?
I would be interested to find that out, yeah.
And the other thing that's very telling, too, is the fact that the movie and TV show has been up on YouTube for 7 years, and they've never bothered to pull it down for copyright. They're just like, we really don't care. Yeah. Nobody's making a dime off of this.
I'll give my summary of the TekWar TV movie. Like I said, I watched it twice. The first one, I felt very boring, very off-putting. The fact that you're just thrown into this world with like no backstory. Just, hey, this is what's happening. Go for it. It does not ease you in. There's no fish. There's no like Luke Skywalker, fish out of water character to explain things to. It feels like you almost have to have read at least the first book to know what's going on. It's very hard to get into. Plus, the fact that I think the reason why I watched it through the first time and I couldn't follow it, I couldn't keep my attention on it, is because that it's all plot. The show is all plot. It's a very convoluted plot, and there's almost no characters to the character. Like I like to think of that thing that the Red Letter Media did in the Phantom Menace review, where they said, describe these characters without saying what they look like or their role in the film. Describe Jack Cardigan. He's kind of like a smart aleck, like he's kind of got that too cool for school mentality.
He sometimes likes to play by his own rules.
He kind of a rebel. Now,
dumb.
Describe Beth Kitteridge. She's got no personality. Yeah, like none of the Sonny Hikori. He's the bad guy. Like none of these people have any characters. There's almost no scene that exists to flesh out the characters or flesh out the world. Every single scene and every line of dialogue is to advance the plot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's no world building. And this is a pretty high concept sci-fi world. You need to do a little bit of world building here, and there's nothing. It's all plot. It's all exposition. It's like all flavor, all substance, no flavor, kind of. Like the plot is there and you can follow it. Because when I sat down and forced myself to pay attention the second time around, I followed it pretty to the letter. I've forgotten all of it at this point, but I was following it. But there's almost nothing to sink your teeth into as far as characters or special effects or world building or anything.
To me, there was no hook in the beginning. Like you could have started off with like, okay, he's just getting released from prison. You could have done some flashbacks to the incident that got his partners killed. You could have done something in his mind that he was seeing during cryo freeze, and then he got interrupted in that. You could have done a version of what tech is and what a tech junkie's going through, and then the guy gets busted, and you get like a good 5-10 minute scene in the opening of what tech is, how it's addictive, how it's affecting the city and society, and show a tech bust. Just give us something to work with here.
Like I said, even a text crawl like Star Wars.
Yeah.
The year is 2044. This addictive thing, virtual reality thing known as tech, is destroying people's lives. They're getting addicted to it. It pumps up your endorphin levels in your brain to the point that your brain fries and it kills you. Something
Societies
like that.
are crumbling. There's a massive drug war. There's border issues. There's terrorist attacks. There's all kinds of shit over this fucking tech.
Yeah, I think it could have helped if Shatner had done some sort of narration explaining everything, a montage of what the tech does and how it's affecting people. Oh, and did you guys remember that Cuba became the 53rd state of the United States?
Did not even notice that.
I remember that.
Yeah.
There's also the point that really Jake Cardigan, he doesn't have a whole lot of motivation to do anything. Like there is one line where Bascom says, like, if you don't work for me, I'll put you back in the freeze or whatever. But there's really not a lot of motivation. I mean, what you could do, because the fact that his wife leaves him and his wife comes back later at the end to meet him. She's like in a relationship with her boss or whatever, but the wife has no purpose. How about in the 4 years that he was in the freeze, his wife got addicted to tech, and his wife died from a tech overdose, and that gives Jake motivation to want to stop tech.
Or his wife has disappeared, and this guy who's married her, or the guy who's in charge of tech, as an act of vengeance or whatever, is keeping her addicted to tech and under his control.
Because it is mentioned in the show that the wife's boss, who she's in a relationship with, his name is Bennett Sands. There is like, I think they're setting up for the next movie where they're saying they think he's dirty, like he's a legitimate businessman, but they think he got his money from tech. So they're maybe setting that up. But if you would have like done that in this movie, it would have gave him a little bit of personal stakes.
His son disappeared. His son got hooked on tech. He's got to go find his son. Where he's at? Is he in a drug house somewhere? Is he selling tech? Is he working for this boss? Who knows? Like, is he kidnapped? There could be 1,000 different angles you could have taken that would have made this story much more interesting.
I don't think the concept of an addictive virtual reality quote unquote drug is a bad idea.
Right.
It has promise, but just it's none of the, they didn't do anything with it.
You have to flush it out.
You have to give us something.
Reverse engineer it. Here's what it is. Here's what it does. how did we get to that point? How did people
Yeah.
become hooked on it? How did it become so big? How was it created? How did it get into society? How does it affect this character? How does it affect this drug lord? Like, you have to reverse engineer all that to get to that point, and they did none of that.
Right. Schweitzer, final thoughts on TekWar?
Tech snore.
Oh,
That's all we need to say. So thank you for listening to us talk about fucking TekWar for like an hour and a half. We'll come up with something better next time, I promise. This is all my idea. For some reason, I was curious because I'd known about this. I've known about it for a long time. I was curious to see what it was.
I'm not going to lie. When you brought it up, I had known TekWar had been a thing for a long time. I remember you hearing about it when Star Trek was at its peak, but I never looked into it.
Yes, same.
So to be fair, I was very curious as to what it was, and I wanted to see it. But that being said, I understand why I never did, and nobody ever said, "Hey, you gotta watch this TekWar."
I think it's safe to say there's no reason to ever watch it in 2021.
No reason.
Like, there are a million better sci-fi TV shows out there. There's no reason to go for TekWar. Like I said, unless you've been locked in quarantine forever and you've seen literally everything on Amazon Prime and Netflix, go for TekWar, sure, but there's no reason. Go watch The Expanse.
Yeah, we're sorry. We'll go back to talking about Star Trek the Next Generation again because it's work.
This is an episode that nobody asked for and nobody wants. But anyway, do you want to do some trivia?
Yeah.
It's
a TekWar trivia.
So it's all based on the 9 books in the TekWar novel series. I hope your knowledge of Sonny Hikori is up to date. No.
All right.
No. So I've created a quiz I call Name
Sunny
That.
Days.
Basically, I've taken plot synopses from 10 different, I would call B-rate or somewhat forgotten sci-fi TV shows of the 90s.
Okay.
Oh.
So I will give you, some of them are a little bit vague, and I think this might be a hard quiz, but I think you guys are both into sci-fi in the 90s, so you might have watched these or heard of these. So, and there's no Star Trek, there's no X-Files. It's the kind of B-level stuff for the most part. Oh, and there's a couple of them that are technically from the year 2000, but I'm counting them because it's my quiz and I can do what I want.
Sure.
So we're not going to ring in. Just shout out the answer if you think you know it.
Okay.
Ready to start?
Let's do it.
So here's first synopsis. In the mid-23rd century, the titular Earth Alliance space station, located in neutral territory...
Babylon 5.
That's correct. Schweitzer, good job.
I'm sorry, I couldn't get past titular.
It means it's in the title. The space station is called Babylon 5.
Right between the title.
Number 2. A boy genius and his comrades travel to different
Sliders?
Sliders. Very good, but I know you're a fan of that show.
Yeah.
3. A drama centering around 3 young alien-human hybrids with extraordinary gifts living in New Mexico.
Roswell?
Good job, Bubs. Roswell is correct.
Oh, very good.
Number 4. Captain Dylan Hunt and his crew set out on a mission to rebuild the system's Commonwealth 300 years after its fall.
Andromeda?
Andromeda is correct. Very good.
I was
Schweitzer.
thinking that because I knew you were going to shoehorn that in somewhere, but I've never seen the show.
I really like Andromeda. I thought it was a lot of fun. Kevin Sorbo was on.
Okay.
And it was technically... Schweitzer, okay, this is a quick aside. The show was actually called Gene Roddenberry's Andromeda. Schweitzer, did you know what was this? What involvement Gene Roddenberry had in it? Like, did he come up with the idea or something, or what?
It could have just been that he came up with the idea, but like I doubt he was dead long before this
he didn't
show
write
went into
it.
production. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's just like, yeah.
What year did the show air?
Andromeda was, I think, 99 or 2000.
How many seasons?
3 or 4.
Okay.
Yeah.
This isn't the British show, is it? Or am I thinking of Red Dwarf?
You're thinking of Red Dwarf,
Okay.
which is not on this list. Okay. Number 5. In the early 21st century, mankind has colonized the oceans. The United Earth Oceans Organization...
DSV.
No. Schweitzer, be more specific.
Sequest DSV?
No.
Oh, I thought that's what it was called. Space Voyage?
I wanted the full title.
I honestly don't know. I honestly would give it.
You would?
I would.
All right. The full title is Sequest 2032.
There's only the one show.
There was DSV as well.
Oh,
that was a different show.
I didn't realize there was two shows.
Yeah.
Honestly.
2032 was the first one.
I'll allow him to have that. I will concede the point to him for that.
I've never watched any of them. Yeah. Number 6. Thrown into a distant part of the universe, an Earth astronaut finds himself part of a fugitive alien starship crew. That was a little generic, but thrown into a distant...
Star Trek Voyager.
No. Thrown into a distant part of the universe, an Earth astronaut finds himself part of a fugitive alien starship crew.
That sounds familiar.
I can give you guys a hint. It was produced by Jim Henson.
Muppets in Space.
Pigs in Space.
Yeah.
Fraggle Rock?
No. Bubs, any guess?
I can't think of it now.
Farscape.
Oh!
Remember Farscape? Had a lot of alien puppets in it.
Yeah.
I never watched it, but I remember ads for it. Okay, number 7. Based on the film of the same name, Jack Logan is a time traveler from 2007 who hunts down rogue travelers.
Time Cop?
Time Cop. Very good, Bubs. TV version of Time Cop. Number 8. When an alien species comes to Earth bearing gifts for humanity, a few suspicious humans seek to discover and resist the newcomer's true designs.
Z?
No.
Earth Final Conflict.
That is correct. Very good.
Also Gene Roddenberry's idea.
Oh, really?
Yes.
He must have just wrote a bunch of ideas on a piece of paper and put them on his fridge.
Just sold them.
Yeah, exactly. Number 9. This is a cheat because this actually came out in 2000, but... an exotic dancer, cryogenically frozen in the year 2001, is accidentally thawed out in 2025 by 2 female warriors who are fighting against evil robots who have taken over the world.
Oh my god. It's Pamela Anderson's in this, isn't it? Barbed Wire?
No.
Okay.
This, I gotta say, as a teenage boy, this was a show that I watched on Saturday afternoons. An exotic dancer,
sounds familiar.
Cryogenically frozen in the year 2025, fights evil robots.
It's not VIP. I think it was called TIT.
Yeah. No, the correct answer is Cleopatra 2525.
Oh my god!
I admit I watched that show by myself in my room when I was 12 or 13 a couple times. Number 10. A science team that works for the Office of Scientific Investigation and Research investigates the reports of supernatural phenomenon. Science team working for the OSIR, Office of Scientific Investigation and Research, investigates reports of supernatural phenomena.
Supernatural?
Nope. I'll give you a hint. Maybe it's a Canadian show. Oh. It's a Canadian show on the Sci-Fi Channel.
Is it Wonder Falls?
Nope.
No. Okay. I don't know that.
Oh,
Did you guess, Schweitzer? It's kind of an X-Files ripoff kind of thing. I used to watch this as well. I was a big into this.
Nicole DeBoer was in it.
Really?
I think that's what you're talking. I thought that's what you were talking about. Okay, maybe.
I don't remember if she was in it or not. Any guesses?
No, I can't think of it.
Okay, the correct answer is Sci-Factor: Chronicles of the Paranormal.
Oh, okay. No, I was even close.
Oh, Schweitzer, were you thinking of The Dead Zone?
Yes.
Yeah.
That was in the early 2000s, I think. But yeah, that was based on a Stephen King novel.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember much about it, but I used to be a big fan of Sci-Factor when I was a teenager. It was like basically Canadian X-Files. Mm-hmm. So you guys did a lot better.
Aliens, eh?
We hear a spaceship touch down over by the Tim Hortons.
They love the back.
Pick me up a double, would you? That should be a Trailer Park Boys video episode where they meet aliens.
Yeah.
Anyway, you guys did better than I thought you would. But the final score is 4-3 in favor of Schweitzer.
There you go, sir.
So good job. So if anybody stuck through this far, thanks a lot for listening. I just wanted to do something that wasn't Star Trek and wasn't James Bond.
Hey, you know what?
I mean, who's talked about TekWar since the 90s? So
we had some fun joking around. So
if I want to say, I had somebody reach out to me on Twitter, and they listened to the last episode where we talked about our very special episodes. Mr. Tyler Wolf. Yeah, I know. Tyler Wolf, he wanted to compliment us on the podcast. He said that he had to leave the room a few times because his laughter was probably going to wake up his wife, and he just really liked it. So,
Awesome. Thanks,
so
Tyler.
I would like to
Audience
apologize for this
Hey, my
episode,
mom
Tyler.
listens.
But no, hey, we got listeners. Hooray!
All right. Thanks, guys.
pluralized.
Thanks for being on the show with me. Thanks for listening. We'll catch you next time.